Hello and welcome back to Farmyard Care, where everyday backyard living becomes practical, productive, and deeply rewarding. Let me start with a question many of you have probably asked yourselves while watching your birds scratch through the yard at sunrise. Have you ever wondered whether there is one chicken cross that truly gives a small grower almost everything they need? Not just eggs, but strength, consistency, and the kind of reliability that matters when you are feeding a family, stretching a budget, building a home flock, and trying to live a little more independently from the system. If that sounds like you, someone who cares about fresh eggs, hardy birds, lower feed waste, and making smarter choices for a garden, yard, or small homestead, then today's discussion is going to be worth your time. Because the answer may not come from another commercial catalog bird at all. It may come from the thoughtful pairing of two time-tested heritage lines, the Sussex Rooster and the Australorp Hen. In this video, we are going to take a close, practical look at why this cross gets so much attention from experienced keepers, and how it can offer the kind of egg production, durability, and long-term value that backyard farmers are really searching for. So get comfortable, stay with me through the full breakdown, and if you enjoy clear, useful farm wisdom like this, make sure you subscribe to Farmyard Care before we move into the first part. Part 1. The Clash of Titans, Unveiling the Ancestry. To really appreciate why this cross has earned so much respect among serious backyard keepers, we need to begin with the parent stock, because this pairing did not happen by accident. On one side, you have the Sussex, one of the true old aristocrats of the poultry world. This is a breed with roots reaching far back into British history, shaped over generations into a dependable, dual-purpose bird that could serve both the table and the egg basket with equal value. The Sussex carries a broad, solid frame, the kind of body that holds meat well without giving up steady laying performance. Just as important, it brings a temperament that most homesteaders value deeply: calm, curious, easy to work around, and notably dependable in cold, wet conditions where weaker birds often struggle. Then we move across the globe to meet the Australorp, the pride of Australia and one of the most respected egg breeds ever developed. Early breeders took Black Orpington blood and refined it with high-producing Mediterranean lines, all with one goal in mind: to build a hen that could lay at an extraordinary level without losing its usefulness on the farm. And the results were remarkable. The Australorp became famous around the world for production power, including the record of a hen laying 364 eggs in 365 days under controlled conditions. So when you bring together the sturdy, meaty strength of the Sussex and the relentless laying drive of the Australorp, you are not simply making another cross. You are combining two proven legacies into a bird with real homestead potential. Part 2. The Magic of Heterosis. Why hybrid vigor changes everything. And that leads naturally to the next question. Why make the cross at all? Why not simply keep pure Sussex or pure Australorp and call it a day? The answer lies in one of the most useful principles in livestock breeding: heterosis, or hybrid vigor. When two strong, well-developed pure lines are crossed, the offspring often do more than just blend traits. In the best cases, they express those traits with greater strength, better balance, and more resilience than either parent line alone. That matters because many modern production hybrids are bred to peak fast and hard, especially in commercial systems. They can produce heavily in the short term, but they often burn out quickly, declining sharply after the first strong cycle and commonly being replaced after the first molt, often around 18 to 24 months. The Sussex Australorp cross offers something different. This F1 bird stands between the hard-driving but short-lived industrial layer and the slower, more durable heritage bird. It gives you a better balance of productivity and staying power. In practical terms, that means stronger overall health, better hardiness, and fewer of the reproductive issues that often trouble birds pushed too far, too fast. It also means better persistence of lay, the ability to keep producing at a worthwhile level over multiple cycles instead of fading early. For a small farm or backyard setup, that kind of longevity matters. A hen that keeps working for 4 to 6 years can reduce the cost and disruption of constant flock replacement. In other words, you get much of the usefulness people chase in commercial birds, but with more character, more resilience, and a lifespan that fits the rhythm of a real homestead. Part 3. Decoding the silver gene, a masterclass in poultry genetics. Now let's look a little closer at the genetics, because this is where the cross becomes even more fascinating. When these chicks first hatch, many people expect them to resemble the black Australorp side right away. But that is not what happens. Poultry genetics follow their own rules, and in this case, the rooster plays a major role in determining sex-linked color traits. In chickens, the male is ZZ and the female is ZW. A light Sussex rooster carries 2 copies of the dominant silver gene on his Z chromosomes, and when he is paired with a black Australorp hen, that silver gene suppresses the gold and red pigments that would otherwise show in the chick's down. The result is striking. Instead of dark chicks, the offspring hatch out in soft yellow or creamy white down, whether they are male or female. That means you cannot reliably sex them by hatch color alone. Breeders who need early identification usually rely on vent sexing in the first few days, or they wait until comb and wattle development begins to separate the cockerels from the pullets more clearly a few weeks later. As the birds mature, though, their adult appearance starts to tell the story beautifully. Most of these hybrids grow into a rich black base color with that glossy green sheen so admired in Australorps, especially when the sun hits the feathers just right. But around the neck and upper chest, the Sussex influence begins to show through in silver lacing or mottling, almost like a dusting of light laid over the darker body. Even the legs reflect the inheritance pattern, often coming through in a cleaner pinkish white rather than the darker pigmentation associated with Australorps. It is one of those crosses that does not just perform well in the coop and on the range. It also gives you a living example of how purposeful breeding can shape both beauty and function in the same bird. Part 4. The egg-laying engine, an unstoppable force of nature. Now we come to the question every backyard keeper wants answered first. How well does this cross actually lay? And this is where the Sussex Rooster over Australorp Hen combination really begins to prove its worth. A solid utility Sussex may give you around 200 to 250 eggs a year, and a good production Australorp may push into the 250 to 300 range. But when you bring those two lines together in a strong F1 cross, that hybrid vigor often shows up where it matters most, in the nest box. These hens can realistically produce around 260 to 290 eggs a year, and more importantly, they tend to do it with a steadiness that makes them genuinely useful season after season. And it is not only the number of eggs that makes this cross appealing, the egg quality is part of the story too. These hens typically lay large eggs, often in the 58 to 65 gram range, with attractive light brown shells that most home growers and market buyers appreciate. From a practical standpoint, that larger Sussex frame gives the hen an advantage because she carries more bone reserve to support the heavy calcium demand that egg production requires. Over time, that can help reduce common laying problems such as thin shells or egg binding as the birds mature. Add to that the Australorp side, known for dependable laying structure and consistency, and you end up with hens that do more than lay often. They lay well. Another point worth appreciating is seasonal reliability. Both Sussex and Australorp have long been respected as strong winter layers, and that matters on a real homestead. When cold weather shortens the days and many flocks slow down sharply, these hens often keep working better than you would expect. That means more eggs on the counter, more dependable protein for the household, and more peace of mind through the hardest part of the year. For many small keepers, that kind of consistency is every bit as valuable as high peak production. Part 5. The Homestead Harvest, the dual-purpose dream realized. Of course, a good homestead bird should give you more than one kind of value, and that brings us to the extra cockerels. In many modern laying systems, surplus males are seen as a problem from the very beginning. They do not fit the narrow production model, so they are treated like a loss. But with this cross, that is not the case at all. One of the real strengths of the Sussex Australorp pairing is that it still holds on to the old-fashioned dual-purpose idea, birds that can give you excellent eggs on one side and worthwhile meat on the other. The Sussex influence contributes width through the breast, depth through the body, and a frame that carries meat better than lighter laying breeds ever could. The Australorp side helps with early growth and gives these young cockerels a more efficient start than many slower heritage birds. By around 16 to 18 weeks, these hybrids can already reach very respectable live weights, and under good feeding and management, they can continue developing into solid table birds with excellent dressing yield. Because they are not pushed to grow at the unnatural speed of a commercial broiler, the meat develops differently. It has more texture, more structure, and a fuller traditional flavor that many experienced growers prefer. The muscle, fat, and connective tissue have time to develop properly, and that gives you a bird that tastes like real chicken used to taste, firm, rich, and deeply satisfying. So instead of seeing the males as wasted feed, you can turn them into a premium source of homegrown meat for the family table. That is one of the clearest signs of a practical farm cross. Very little goes to waste, and nearly every bird has a purpose. Part 6. Personalities and Parenting. The perfect flock companions. Now, production matters, but anyone who has kept chickens for long enough knows that temperament matters too. A flock can look excellent on paper and still become exhausting to manage if the birds are nervous, aggressive, or constantly causing disorder. That is another reason this cross appeals to so many backyard growers. The Sussex Australorp hybrid comes from two lines already known for calm, workable temperaments, and in many cases the offspring carry that forward beautifully. These are birds that are generally easy to handle, comfortable around people, and well-suited to homes where children or first-time keepers may be involved. Once they are out on range, you begin to see another side of their value. Australorps are active, determined foragers, and the Sussex brings curiosity and a grounded, confident nature that makes them pleasant birds to watch and easy birds to live with. In a mixed flock, they usually settle into the middle or upper middle part of the pecking order, not because they are overly aggressive, but because their size and steadiness give them natural presence. They tend to hold their place without the constant, frantic behavior you often see in lighter, more nervous breeds. That free-ranging ability can pay off in practical ways as well. These birds are strong insect hunters, persistent scratchers, and capable users of pasture, garden edges, and orchard space when managed properly. In the right setup, that can shave feed costs by helping the flock convert forage and bugs into eggs more efficiently. And for those of you thinking about self-replacement, there is more good news. Unlike many commercial layers that have had broodiness almost entirely bred out of them, this cross can retain a moderate and useful mothering instinct. When one of these hens decides to set, she often proves to be calm, attentive, and protective. With her size and feather coverage, she can manage a generous clutch and raise chicks capably, which fits beautifully into a small farm system built around independence and natural flock renewal. Part 7. Masterful Care and Feeding, Maximizing the Genetic Potential. Now, if you really want this cross to perform at the level it is capable of, then good genetics alone will never be enough. You have to support those genetics with the right environment, the right feed program, and solid day-to-day flock management. These birds are certainly practical and easier to live with than many high-strung production strains, but make no mistake, they are still working birds. If you expect strong growth, durable health, and steady laying, then you need to feed and house them like birds that are meant to produce. The feeding program should change with each stage of development. In the starter phase, from hatch to about 3 weeks, these chicks need a high-protein ration, ideally around 20 to 21%, to support rapid bone growth, muscle formation, and internal development. What matters most at this stage is consistent access to fresh feed so they eat often and grow evenly. As they move into the grower stage, from roughly 4 weeks through 20 weeks, the protein can be brought down to around 16 to 18%. That helps maintain steady development without pushing them too hard or encouraging the pullets to come into lay before their bodies are ready. This is also the point where grit becomes important, especially if you are introducing whole grains or allowing access to range. Once the hens enter the laying phase, nutrition becomes even more important because egg production places a constant demand on the body. A good layer ration in the 16 to 18% protein range, combined with about 3.5 to 4.5% calcium, is essential. Crushed oyster shell is one of the simplest and most effective ways to support shell quality and protect the hen from long-term mineral drain. If your birds are free-ranging or scavenging for part of the day, a balanced supplemental grain mix can also work well, as long as the birds still receive enough protein and minerals to maintain both body condition and output. Housing matters just as much as feed. These are not light birds, so crowding them into a small coop or forcing them onto high roosts is asking for trouble. Give them about 4 square feet of indoor space per bird, keep the air moving well through the house, and make sure the roost bars are set low, around 1 to 2 feet from the floor. That small detail can prevent hard landings, foot issues, and breastbone injuries that heavier birds are more likely to suffer. And although this cross is known for good overall vigor, basic biosecurity still matters. A proper vaccination program for major poultry diseases, clean water, dry bedding, and regular dust bathing areas will go a long way toward keeping the flock healthy. In hot weather, pay especially close attention because dark feathered birds absorb heat faster. Deep shade, strong ventilation, and practical support through the water can make a major difference in preventing heat stress and protecting production through summer. So when we step back and look at the full picture, what do we really have in the Sussex Rooster crossed with the Australorp Hen? We have far more than a simple backyard experiment. We have a carefully balanced, deeply practical cross that brings together some of the best traits a small farm or homestead can ask for. On one side, you have the body, substance, calm nature, and dependable utility of the Sussex. On the other, you have the laying drive, productive efficiency, and proven performance of the Australorp. And when those traits meet in a well-made F1 bird, the result is a flock that can serve a family in more ways than one. This is the kind of bird that can fill the egg basket with impressive consistency, provide useful and flavorful meat from the extra cockerels, handle real backyard conditions with strength, and still remain gentle enough to fit beautifully into a family flock. For the grower who wants birds that work hard without feeling fragile, birds that can forage, last, and truly earn their place on the land, this cross offers a very compelling answer. And maybe that is the larger lesson here. The future of sustainable home food production does not always come from chasing the newest system or the most extreme commercial strain. Very often it comes from understanding old genetics, respecting what each breed was built to do, and combining them with purpose. That is how stronger flocks are built, and that is how real self-reliance grows over time. If you have ever raised Sussex, Australorp, or this cross yourself, I would love to hear what you have seen in your own yard or homestead. Share your experience, your questions, and your results down in the comments. Thank you for spending this time with me here on Farmyard Care. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone else who cares about building a healthier, more productive flock. Keep learning, keep growing, and I will see you in the next one.